Good morning, subscribers. Welcome to episode 18 of Complex Humans. It's Oliver here in Sydney. It's 8:06 a.m. on a Thursday. It's May 11, 2017. Our special guest for today is Bari Tessler, the author of The Art of Money. She's in Colorado and it's 4 p.m. there, Bari. How are you?
Hi there. I'm very happy to be here. It's good to connect with you live. Yeah.
Yeah. It's an amazing technology we have now, right? And what would you like to talk about today, Barry?
What would I like to talk about? I'm excited. I thought you were going to interview me, so I'm open to answering anything, any questions.
We could do that.
That would be good for your community. So
Awesome.
um, I have a lot to say, always, but I prefer when it's in a conversation.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
You
So
know,
I guess my question, a burning question for me is, what would be like if you have a message to people out there in relation to their the way they relate to money? What would it be like?
my God.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so let's put a little context in this because this
Nice.
is work that I've been teaching for 16 years.
Yeah.
A decade before that, I spent my time training to be a somatic therapist
Ah.
at Naropa University in Boulder, Colorado. I've been teaching my money work in groups for 16 years. And when I first started, I would teach in groups of 10
Mm-hmm.
people over and over and over. And then it moved to 20 people a
Mm-hmm.
few years later. And then a few years later, it moved to 50 people and then so on. And now we have 470 students
Wow.
in Art of Money 2017. So I used to call my work conscious bookkeeping.
Mm-hmm.
Now I call it the Art of Money. I moved into the Art of Money about 5-6 years ago when I realized that I was about to turn 44,
Mm-hmm.
and I realized I was ready for a year-long program, and I realized that my community was, and I realized that the content and material had matured
Mm-hmm.
and had evolved, and that it was ready for a year-long program. After teaching not just in smaller groups, but I would teach 6-week classes and 3 months and 4-month classes and weekend workshops, which feel crazy to me. And, and then 6 months. And then it finally was clear this is a lifelong journey. Um, I have created a framework, which I'm happy to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And, and there's all these tools and practices that I've been developing for 16 years.
Mm-hmm.
And it needs to be done in a year-long program because we were not taught how to have a relationship to money from grade school on up. This is one of the things I say over and over and over. Like we were not given a financial education from grade school and up in small increments on a practical, emotional, psychological, and spiritual level. We
Yeah.
also weren't taught how to understand our emotions,
Mm-hmm.
feel our emotions, sit in our emotions, understand them, know what to do with them. So financial literacy and emotional literacy
Mm-hmm.
are two of the biggies for me that I've been teaching, for years. But and I'm going to answer your question.
Yeah,
You might not know this. I go off on lots of tangents, and I always come back.
yeah, yeah, love that. Like it's part of this whole series is about complex humans, and part of the thesis of the whole series is that we are complex creatures. Like
Yeah,
we can't box people in. We go off tangents all the time. And
right.
I just want to say, like with what you're saying, I can highly relate to that. Like I did accounting, economics at university. So we were taught to compute the financial ratios of companies, like the acid test ratios, but it was so abstract. And it's so funny, like I have friends who are accountants, and even they can't apply their accounting powers to themselves. They know how
Right.
to do it for the companies,
Hmm.
but it's amazing, like accountant friends who have problems with the tax returns. It's like, wow, you're an accountant, but it's an emotional thing. You're right with that. Yeah.
It's an emotional thing, and I never imagined that my topic and theme would be money.
Mm,
Never. I thought it would be body, sexuality,
mm,
sensuality, food, intimacy, death, and grief.
mm.
That's what I thought, those are my topics in my 20s. And when my school loan came due
Right.
at the end of my 20s, that's when I realized, well, at first I thought I was the only one. I
Yeah.
really thought I'm the only one who did not receive this money education. I'm the only one who doesn't have a relationship to money. I'm the only one. I think we all have a moment of that. And then I started looking around and realizing no matter what economic background people came from, no matter what lineage, ethnicity, and on, that most of us did not receive an education, or we had parts and pieces of a relationship to money, but we were missing things. So the accountant folks who go and get their traditional accounting degree or MBA, or they learn parts of it,
Yeah.
but there's never a discussion around what are your emotions around money, and what's your money story, and what's your money psychology. None of that, right? And
Right.
then I have so many people that come from more of a creative background that are just terrified of the numbers, or terrified to even track their numbers or look at their numbers, or there's just I realized it was such a missing piece in my own education. I started looking around, such a missing piece with my friends from all different backgrounds. And that we all had strengths around money. We all had challenges around money. Most of us had some level of money shame,
Mm.
that hadn't been named or acknowledged. And I just realized it was one of those moments where I was like, either I'm going to go running away and travel the world and be a nomad.
Mm.
Like that's an option. That's a fine idea, and it's an idea, and or I'm going to face this head on and learn everything I can about money from the ground on up, and learn about bookkeeping and learn about bookkeeping systems. And I surprised myself and fell in love with all of that, because I just somehow had equated, if I'm not good at math, I can't be good at money, or if I'm not good at math, I'm not going to be good at a bookkeeping system. Or I had, we do all these things. We tell stories, we our beliefs are formed. And so I just learned everything that I could, and then started creating a methodology which I called financial therapy, or
Mhm.
my husband did. I need to always give my husband credit. He made, he's been around like from day one. We
Mm.
came together, and within a few months, it was like I birthed with him by my side
So good.
methodology, and I was told to give a talk about money and bookkeeping and consciousness, and I went out into the woods and I said, what am I supposed to bring back to my community? Like, what are the concepts? What's the framework? What am I supposed to bring back to help people to have a healthy, conscious, savvy, healthy relationship to money? And I came and I got some information. I got these 3 phases
Uh-huh.
that are in the book: money healing, money practices, and money maps. And 16 years ago, they were financial therapy, values-based bookkeeping, and life vision planning. And they happened because I ran home from that hike in the woods, and I was living in a 350 square foot cabin with my husband.
Ah.
No joke, tiny little cabin in California. And we got out big white paper, and he helped me map out the 3 phases and map out the beginning methodology,
Wow.
that I then went on to teach for years. And so the larger message or mission has always been, again, I thought I'd be working on these other topics,
Mhm.
right? And now money's the doorway, or money's the lens into um, daily living, into awareness,
Mm.
into having a conscious relationship to life.
Mm.
Um, and that I could have used any of these other topics, but money became the one that was such a missing piece for me, that I started applying all the tools and practices that I had learned as a somatic therapist, and I brought them all into how to have a healthy, conscious relationship to money,
Mm.
and have been side by side I've been working these tools and practices from day one. I have to be walking my talk. Me and my husband have money dates. We used to fight. We used to fight. Now everything that's in the book is something that me and my husband have been doing for 16 years together, experimenting, trying out, and then doing with the community. And then the community will say, oh, we're stuck on this is after a year of doing the work in the small groups. People started saying, I can't go to sleep at night. I'm still feeling ashamed about this mess that happened years ago. Or I when I got married, I signed a prenuptial contract that I didn't really read. I just signed it. And now I'm a different person. Now I never would have signed that, or I would have negotiated different things, and I know my value differently. And all these things started coming up from the past. And that was the moment when I realized there's no forgiveness. I haven't included forgiveness for ourselves, for others, for God. So the entire methodology has been created by what was missing for me, what I needed, looking around, evaluating, adding in a technique, practice, seeing how it went, and then the community and students telling me what was missing or what worked or what they needed more of. And that's how it's been, that's how it's evolved and matured over the last 16 years.
The awesome thing. In entrepreneurship, like Silicon Valley and other places, people say, oh, how do I become an entrepreneur? What do I do? But you just showed that it all begins, usually you have your own scratch you want, an itch you want to scratch, right? Like, because like, I want this, I want this in the world, but it's not here. So you made it. And so it's amazing to see that, like, some people, they say, oh, if only I had this idea. It's like they're trying to find it somewhere out there. But usually the best place to begin, if you want to create something in the world as your story illustrated beautifully, is your own. Like, what do I want? And then if it's not in the world, maybe instead of complaining about it, do what you did. You created a whole system.
Yeah.
And also, like, I'm doing product design at university at the moment, and our subject right now, one of my subjects is user-centered design. And you illustrated that beautifully again, with your community. By engaging with them, you actually get to refine the service you're offering, instead of the old, the traditional method where there's some genius at the back just thinks of something and then just makes it and will just sell it. No, it's a dialogue, right?
Yeah.
A two-way thing between you and the people you serve, right?
Yes.
So,
yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So was it hard to start? I think that's one of the hardest thing for people, like if they want to do something, is to start it,
I didn't see the whole vision from the beginning. For me, there are also a few other moments. So the school loan, at that time I had a master's degree, and I was making $11 an hour. And that was a moment of, how the heck am I going to pay back this student loan on $11 an hour? I'm working as a counselor, social worker in the mental health field. I like my work. It's not sustainable, but I had so my options at that time were stay in the mental health field as a social worker or start my own private practice.
Yeah.
And I never wanted to have a private practice, because I never saw myself seeing 8 or 10 or 12 clients a day.
Yeah.
And I was 28 years old. I felt too young. I didn't feel I had matured enough. And so I just followed the trails. I really did not see the whole business, where it was going. All I knew was that the program I was working for in the mental health field, they asked me, out of my 40 hours a week, if I wanted 10 hours a week to go in the back room, learn Quicken, learn Excel, and do the bookkeeping for the program. And I had to contain myself when I was asked that, because inside of me it was like, what? Like, my bank statements come and I throw them out. Like, why are you asking me this? But I think I kept a straight poker face. I was like, I kept it clear. And I said yes. It was such an odd thing to say yes to. I said yes to it. I went in the back room. I was taught how to use Quicken and Excel. And it blew my mind because it was like the other side of my brain was being used and activated and opened, and I could do it. And it was so satisfying and it was so empowering. And again, to go back to, if I'm not good at math, I can't learn this bookkeeping stuff. And that kind of blew that wide open. And then I decided to take a detour and stop working in the mental health field for a little bit. And I took a job in an accounting department of an organic bakery. So organic bakery made sense to me. That felt good to work for that kind of company. But accounting, everyone around me was wondering what I was doing. What are you doing? What are you doing?
You're going to the dark side or something.
What are you doing? Like, this doesn't make sense. You have a master's in somatic psychology. And I was following, as I say, the chocolate crumbs. I was following this trail that I knew would make sense down the road. And I thought I'd, be there for a few months. I was there for 2 years. And then here was another thing that was happening was, how do I create a livelihood? I know my skill sets. I know that I'm really good at what we call holding space, for someone, and the beautiful places, the challenging places, the painful places, I had lost 4 very close men to me from ages 20 to 25. And so I knew really painful, deep terrain. I knew grief really well. I had taken myself through it. I knew how to hold space for other people. I knew that. I had no idea how to create a livelihood, and I was like, how do I move through some kind of money ceiling? And so again, my questions that I was asking did propel me into creating this work, all the different parts of it. Because here I'm making $11 an hour. How do I break through that money ceiling? I can't do it in the mental health field. And then all of a sudden, this job in the accounting department, they offered me 13 an hour, and then they moved me up to 15, and I was like, okay, and then a contractor said, I'll teach you QuickBooks. And I'll pay you 20, and then once you learn it, I'll pay you 25. And I was like, okay, ding, ding, ding. Like, things are starting to move. Things are starting to open. I'm asking different questions. I'm being open to answers that seem odd to me. I'm following the trail. And I wound up having a bookkeeping business as this interim phase from a master's in psychology to becoming a financial therapist and teaching my methodology in groups. And so it was that. And then my income, started going up from there. Bookkeepers can charge 50, an hour at some point. And then over the years, I've just continued to ask, how can I break through a money ceiling? And not every year do I want to be breaking through a money ceiling. Some years I'm expanding. Some years I'm getting really simple. Like after I had my son, right before my 40th birthday, I let go of my entire team of bookkeeping trainers and financial coaches and my business partner. I had a business partner and 2 VAs, and we were doing all this work in the San Francisco Bay Area live. And I had a big complication in our labor, and incredibly grateful for Western medicine. And I like natural everything, but in these moments,
you need them.
So grateful. And then I was in recovery. So I went into a really simple phase, and that's a whole story. But I've been looking at how to create a business model for years, and I'm about to hit my 5th one, and always asking new questions. Like when my son came, I had to ask, what do I love doing the most? That's the most lucrative that I can do while recovering and being sleep deprived, right? That was then. And then years later, it was, how can I be the most generous with my content? And that turned out to my year-long teaching model, which is like the most sustainable teaching model, my favorite teaching model, and the most lucrative. And so that's a whole other story. But all these things of the work that I've needed to do. It's not all of the methodology, of course. It's not just all about me and what my questions are, as you were saying, but those have been things that have led me to really, what is my value? How do you claim your value? How do you create a business model? All these things. Now I'm going off on a tangent and I don't remember where we started. So where did we?
No, it's okay. That's okay. I just have a new question for you. Maybe you could talk more about the year-long program, and like if people are interested, how do they get in or something? How do they apply to it?
Yeah. So the year-long model is it takes you through the 3 phases that are in the book, and
Yeah.
the 3 phases. So it's 4 months of money healing, it's 4 months of money practices, and it's 4 months of money maps.
Awesome.
And it's all online, and so it's an international community, people from all over the world. And there is everything from a private Facebook community, secret. I don't like that word, but that's what they call it in it's a secret group in Facebook. So it just means no one outside of it can see in.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of intimate sharing.
Mm.
And I have 5 teaching assistants.
Mm.
We call them transformation assistants. And
TAs. You're
TAs.
TAs. Yeah.
Yes. And one's a somatic therapist,
Mm.
somatic trainer. One's owns a bookkeeping business. She's my bookkeeper. After doing my own bookkeeping for 12 years, which I loved on QuickBooks, every few days as a practice, I gave over my business bookkeeping to Jess Salzman and love it. And so anyway, she's a TA. There are 2 financial planners and then 1 life coach. And so out of 470, let's say 350 students choose to be a part of that. And then 120 choose to really not be a part of that, the group part, the community part. But a lot of folks love that. There's a community call every month. You get me for 2 hours, and I work with about 10 people. I do coaching. I'll do like a little mini 10, 15-minute coaching session, therapy session in front of everyone. That's one of my favorite things. And then there's a lot of content. And so, this is, again, some people, we open it up once a year. Or we open it up at the end of the year for an early bird around October, November, and then we open it up in January. And you get access to a private member area right away. Each month, new content, we call it a monthly mission, comes out. Every Friday, you get a weekly love. You get a little love note every Friday saying like, hey, take this step, or hey, calm down. I don't say calm down. I say, do body check-in or pace yourself. And then there's the last thing is that there's a library of almost all of the interviews that I've done and resources on money and food and money and ancestors and money and cash flow dips and just everything that I can think of. My husband's amazed that I'm still creating content. I said, I'm not even, I have so many more years.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
See if I could share your site so people know where to get it.
Yeah, you just go to baritessler.com. Oh, there you go. That's my book page.
Yeah.
I love my new book page.
Congratulations. You have 2 awards now, right?
I have 2 awards. I've only announced the first one publicly. The second one just happened last week.
Yeah.
And it's Nautilus is more of a social justice book award. I'm really honored. I'm really excited by both of them. Yeah.
It's amazing that they recognize that it's really about this, like all over the world. There's a big question about equality, right? And especially in America.
Yeah.
And like to me personally, I think to address equality, it's not about charity, it's about empowerment. And I think your book is about empowerment. No one, I think even the recipients of charity don't like charity. They want to feel powerful. They just don't want to be like just receiving, not doing something. So it's like, I think your book helps people. If I can have a good relationship with money, then I can be confident to dream, and because I know I can handle this money thing, right?
That's why I'm so grateful that the book is out in the world. And, you know, not everyone can take a year-long program that's $1,000. You know, it can be $88 a month if you choose the monthly payment option, or $850 pay in full.
Mm.
And so that's not affordable for everyone, even though it's a very affordable year-long program, right? Even, and yet I know it's all relative, what's affordable and not. But we have the book now, and those book selfies are some of my. Those are just some. We got book selfies with people from all over the world holding the Art of Money book. It
So,
is, these faces are, yeah. If you don't see your face in there, please send me a picture. We have tons of these collages. I go to bed like snuggling them. They make me
I
feel
have an
happy.
electronic copy. Maybe I should get a physical one. Physical one looks better.
Well, it does, but Janice, you know, held up the Kindle version with her
Ah,
face. And I love that. I love that too.
yeah, I could
I
do
love
that.
that too. But there is a page. If you go up to the top, you go to the right. Art of Money. Do you see at the top next to the book?
Yep. Ah, yeah. There you
Yeah, go to the Art of Money, and it's a very thorough page.
go. Okay.
I like to be thorough. I like to be very detailed. It tells you everything that's inside the year-long program, and then
Awesome.
some. You know.
That's
It shows a lot of the guest teachers and the topics, and it goes, the page goes on and on. It's really, we want you to read the Art of Money program page and even have a new insight about your money story or relationship, or a new idea just from reading the program page, which happens a lot.
so good, and I like your website. It feels good. It's good to
You know
know.
who made that? My husband made that for me.
Ah, awesome.
That's why it feels so good.
It's
Because he knows me
super.
so well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was his gift to me. He's had his hands in Art of Money from the beginning, as I said, but there was 2.5 years where he was helping me run everything behind the scenes.
Mm.
And then a year ago, right as the book was being published on June 14th, he built this gorgeous website for me as his parting gift. And now he's left the business and he's back in his own sandbox, growing his own business again.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
It's amazing how to see people transition between different stuff and remain beautifully connected. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. He needs to bring all of this brilliant creativity to something for about 2.5 years, and then he's out.
Ah, okay.
And that's his rhythm. And I hike the same trail every day. And I have been in the same work for like, I like to hike the same trail every day because every day it's different.
Yeah.
Every day it's different.
It's so zen the way you do it. Like
Yeah.
you do the same thing, but something happens, even if it's the same thing. Like they have the saying, before enlightenment, chopping wood. After
Yep.
enlightenment, chopping wood.
Exactly. Every day it's something different. I noticed someone put up 2 little bird swings under a tree. There's different wildflowers almost every few days. There's, a different animal I see, or just, the sky looks different. It's every single day it's different.
Awesome. I guess we're about to end this episode. Any last things you want to say?
Hmm. I don't know if I answered your question about what is my mission. Um, I think I have in my long version, which
Maybe
is,
we could rephrase it like in a Simon Sinek asks the why. What is your why? Why am
yeah, I don't do stuff like that.
yeah.
I just don't. I'm so intuitive. I really need to come from within and out.
Right.
And I'm always following that. I'm listening to that and following that. So when my husband came in years ago and said he was really into integral theory, he was working for Ken Wilber at the time, years ago, as one of his theoretical editors. And he would try and explain the theory to me, and I'd be like, yeah, 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 yeah. And then he would say, well, let me evaluate your methodology to make sure you're covering all the 4 quadrants and everything. And then he would come out and be like, you are. And I'd be like, see, I don't need the theory.
Is it like a voice? Like the ancient Greeks, they have this notion of a daemon, like
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
like someone who will take care of you, but you have to listen to it, because if you don't listen to it, it may give the lesson in a harsh way. Like because
Mm.
like when some people sometimes they get sick, and you wonder what happened, and then it's because they're not listening, and then when they get sick, then they start to listen and they change their life. They have that notion of we're born with a daemon that protects us, but if you don't listen to it, it may be forced to do some harsh measures. So is it
Yeah.
like you're listening to this inner voice in you that makes you go for the next step? Or
Yeah, and I mean, there are qualities that I'm always bringing.
Mhm.
From the beginning, it was okay. If I'm going to help people bring awareness to their relationship to money and bring deeper understanding, which leads to change,
Mhm.
it has to be imbued with these qualities that I love so much about being alive, which is it has to have deeper meaning.
Mhm.
It has to have creativity. It
Mhm.
has to have playfulness and beauty
Mhm.
and kindness. And so there are these qualities that I keep bringing in, and I've brought to um, this methodology,
Mhm.
of how to have a healthy relationship to money. But there's so many deeper teachings in it about listening to your intuition, learning how to listen to your body again, pacing yourself, trusting your timing, slowing down, um, bringing this all into daily living. Yeah, bringing intention.
Yeah, I've got one more question, if it's
Yeah,
okay. Yeah,
of course.
I heard the voice. I find your body check-in really useful, like especially when uh, was this yesterday, the other day I was paying for something and I felt this panic, and why am I panicking? And then I did the check-in. So I was just curious, because you have this deep background in somatic psychology or therapy.
Yeah,
Maybe you could just give us, like, I know it's a big field to just say,
yeah,
give us an idea what it's about, because I think for a lot of people out there, like, we're still just have this idea of psychology where someone lies down on the couch and some person with a notebook, you know what I mean, like the old
yeah.
Freudian or whatever kind of psychology. But I think this is much different, is it?
Yeah, it is. So, of course, I have a few stories. One of them is me being a teenager, and I would go into my room, close the door, blast music, dance, all these different emotions that were coming up, get out, finish the music, walk out my door, and then be able to articulate to my parents or to myself first, and then my parents what the heck was going on, like what I was feeling. So I had this experience of that.
Mm.
Then also at 16, 17, I asked my parents if I could go to therapy. I wanted to
You ask
understand. Say that again.
you ask them, like,
I
Mom, I
asked
would
them.
like a bit. Wow, that's
Yeah, yeah. Now I was playing all the normal teenager games, and having a lot of fun. I was pretty wild. I was pretty angsty. Um, we all have personas that were playing out at that time. I was sad. I was angry. And I wanted to understand myself better.
mm,
Right? So they sent me to a male therapist, though,
mm,
and that wasn't a great move, but they didn't know. And I noticed that I just proceeded to play games, like mind games, verbal games with this therapist instead of actually dropping. And talk therapy didn't drop me into a deeper place.
mm,
I just got, so even though I wanted to learn about myself, I was put in a situation where I could use my words, or I was really into mind games at that time. And that's just where I was at, especially with boys and men like that. I was just, there's a lot of power dynamics that I was working out. Exactly. And so I had those experiences. And then I go to Israel after college. So I had learned Japanese for 2 summers in a row in college because I love sushi and I love being able to speak in Japanese, ordering my sushi. That was one. But my father wanted me to learn Japanese for
mm,
real estate. He wanted to potentially do some kind of business together, right? Well, so his plan was I was going to go to Japan, teach English.
mm,
I was applying for that And at the last minute, I had a really strong voice of, this is not your path, and you need to go to Israel to find out what it means that you were born into a Jewish family. And being Jewish for me is part religion, spirituality, but it's mostly my lineage and my ethnicity. And so I wanted to go to Israel for that, to understand that. And so I said no to my dad, which was a big moment. And I said yes to Israel. So I'm in Israel, exploring, discovering lots of things. It was life-changing for me. It was an entire year when I was 23. And at some point on the kibbutz, I was running every day, jogging, and in an instant, I realized I was going to put dance with therapy. And I thought I made up a whole field, and the light bulbs went on, and I really thought I made up this entire field. Like, I was a dancer my whole life. I'm into this psychology stuff. I'm going to put these together, and I'm on to something, you know? And then I get to Jerusalem and learn that there's an entire graduate programs in dance movement therapy and somatic psychology. So I then proceeded to apply and get myself to Naropa University. And back then, this was 24 years ago, dance therapy and somatic psychology, even though they were slightly different tracks, we were doing all of the coursework together. Nice. Dance therapists came from a dance background. Somatic therapists came from more massage, body work, physical therapy backgrounds. We were doing everything together. So my 20s was really steeped in a practice called authentic movement, which is a movement meditation practice. And it teaches that there's no music. There's usually one person witnessing, and it could be one mover or it could be a whole group of movers. And we're all over the room, standing, sitting, lying down, and we close our eyes and we are trying to listen to our impulses and sensations and turn them into movement and sound.
Wow.
And when I first started doing that at 23, I kept trying to show how good of a dancer I was. And then the facilitator kept stopping me and saying, come back. Like, come back. This is not about, just come back. It could be moving your finger, you know. And that was my practice for a decade. And I found myself gravitating. I love the movement groups and all that, and this practice, but I love the simple techniques of just being able to stop wherever you are and check in with your body on a physical level, sensation level, emotional level, breath level. And for me, that's just realizing our mind and our body's connected. We don't want to be just in our mind. We don't want to be just in our body. They're connected. They have so much to say to each other. And like many of us, we ignore what our body's messages are, or we override them, or we were taught not to listen, or, you know, there's a lot going on there. And so a lot of my work in my 20s was helping myself learn how to remember and listen again. And then I was doing a lot of authentic movement groups for young women to help them to listen to their body's messages. So when I was creating this money work again, as I said, I had to bring all the qualities that are so important to me into my journey with money, my relationship to money, the steps I was going to take, the steps I was going to suggest. And from the beginning, it was, number one, step one is body check-in. And why is no one else talking about this? This is so obvious. And, you know, before you're going to have a money conversation, do a body check-in. And in the middle of a money conversation, maybe in the heat of the moment, you catch yourself and you're like, wow, I'm furious. Or just come back. Even to realize that you're freaking out or anxious or super pissed or super sad, on and on, or checking out, starting to leave your body, and even to catch it in the moment. And then some of us at the beginning, we don't catch it until after the conversation, or after we leave the mall, or after. And they're all good. They're all like before, during, and after. Body check-ins are there's no right way, there's no wrong way. But I do hear that this practice is the most life-changing out of all of the tools and practices in the book, and that I've been teaching for years. People say, I started doing this body check-in around money and then in my life, and eventually became a habit where I'd remember, oh, I'm about to have a really important money conversation. Or I'm about to tell someone what my fees are, or I'm about to look online at my numbers, or you remember during or after. And it's again, it's just a practice. It's just a loving practice, just to see where you're at in the moment, which for me is a way to gather clues and information, helps bring more awareness to your stories, your reactions, your feelings, sensations, which then will lead to understanding and change. And so this body check-in is a somatic tool that any somatic therapist is going to do with themselves, and they're going to be tracking your movements and gestures and body and where you're holding and all of that, and asking you to learn how to do that for yourself. So that's where it comes from. That's a little bit about that.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna ask now about, because you're a mother. I'm just thinking about how I've been observing. There's a lot of autism in the news, or you hear it on the news, or you see people being diagnosed as such. And so that's one. And then you see, like when I go out, you see a classic example is you see a mother like in the iPhones, and then there's the pram, and then there's the baby or a toddler playing with the iPad. So I was just thinking, and then we talked about being present in the body, and you could see a lot of people walking in the streets. They're not there; they're inside this or something. I mean, this is powerful because like we're using it now, all this technology.
Right.
Sometimes there's a danger where I think people get absorbed, and then it takes them out of who they are, and they're just lost in all this in cyberspace, as we say. What's your take on that, as a mother, and we've seen a child grow and stuff?
I'm raising a child in an age where, he has an iPad, no phones because he's 8, going to be 9. And I just read that Bill Gates doesn't allow his children to have iPhones until they're 14. So I told my child that the other day, when you're 14, he wasn't so happy. He's already asking. So we're raising our children with iPads and computers and games and all of that. I didn't even have a computer growing up. I didn't. My younger brother started using one. I didn't, but I use one all the time for my business. And, I see that there's a lot of questioning or judgment against mothers who are walking with their phones. And as a mother, who became a mother as an older mother, right before as I was turning 40, I had my child. Yeah, there are times where I'm at the park and he's playing and I'm on my phone, and I can see other mothers and we can go, oh, that's terrible. And yet they're like, I'm up all night. I was up for 3 years with my child every few hours because he wasn't a sleeper with him so much and getting him back to sleep. And there is so much attention with them. And then we have our moments where we are plugged in too. Where'd you go? I think, it's a balance is not the right word. You got to find your way. I have friends that are very strict with their kids, a half an hour of electronics a week, or a half an hour a day. Or my son is in a traveling soccer team. He's in soccer probably 5 days a week. And then, yes, he loves his funny YouTube videos or soccer games. And, he loves it. And then we have our reading and our bath time and putting to sleep time. So it's just like we like our nature time and we like our electronic time. And that's how, it's also, we just have to all find our way with it. I can't comment on autism or how many kids are being diagnosed with ADHD right now. And that's a whole other thing that I don't work with. You have to know your child. You have to watch them and make sure that there's nature time. And we like electronics too. I mean, we like them.
It's like maybe I just had a thought. Maybe we consider it as part of our ecology. It's part of it's part of the ecology where we live in now, I think, and like the internet and all that. and we just have to live with it. Like in any ecology, you have to make it sustainable, right? Not
Yes,
not make one thing dominate. And
right.
yeah,
And there can be healthy and unhealthy relationships to it, and that needs to be defined within your family ecology and ecosystem, right? And who each of you are and how it's used and all
yeah,
of that.
I love
Yeah.
that. I love that. Instead of this against that, it's yeah, it's how you
Right.
make a complex thing work. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. Wow,
Thank you.
so much,
Oh,
so
I
much to
know
think about. Yeah, maybe we
we
can
could,
do
I
this
feel
again.
like we could
I
just,
feel there's more. There's
yeah,
more. Yeah.
there's more.
Yeah.
There's more.
Thank you
Yeah.
very much. And whew, awesome.
Oliver, thank you for having me. Does it, I mean, what I want to tell people how I found you or you found me. I found you because you found me.
Yeah.
So basically, you didn't even know this, that we were just about to put out a call for book clubs. And
No.
we created a whole guide on how to do a book club and what are, questions to ask after each chapter and da 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 da. And the day before that was about to go out, I saw one of your videos that you and Sydney and Janice and Bali were doing your own book club. And I was like, who are these folks? And this is awesome and this is amazing. And I felt so blessed and honored that you guys were willing to record it, put it live. I've watched every single one. I'm enjoying it so much. I love the dynamic between the two of you. I love the conversations that come up, the different things that each of you bring up, and it's incredible for me to watch you going through the book and going through each chapter. So that's how I found you, and then I was like, hey.
Oh, the way I found you is like actually didn't know about your book, but I was just on I just came from exchange, and I was traveling and doing a lot of uh, learning about coaching and all that for a year. So I came back to Sydney to finish my design degree, and I ran out of money. And I was like, oh shit. And I said, I really need to be more conscious of this, because before really embarking on this, I have the attitude that I don't worry about money until I have to. That was kind of my philosophy.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
It was largely unconscious. And then so I said, in our community where Janice is part of it, I just put a message in the group. This year, I'm gonna focus on my relationship with money. And then Jan said, yeah, I want to do that too. And so we created a Facebook group where we share stuff. And then Janice said, oh, someone invited me to this book club and we're doing this Art of Money book. And then, oh, I said, I'll check that out. And I checked it out. Whoa, this book seems amazing. And then it was at that time that I also started this Complex Humans. And then I said, Janice, instead of us just talking about it, why don't we record it like I did in Complex Humans? And I said, yeah, let's do it. And then and we did it, and I sort of wanted it to really digest it. So I said, let's do one chapter every week. So that
Yeah.
let's not just do the whole book. I want to really step through it, and then
Yeah.
like even now, even if I'm doing it like chapter by chapter, I feel that I still need to go back to really. It's not like a linear thing. It's like more
Yeah.
like, okay, body check, and then you go back, and then you go back to this. There's so much there. It's good to keep going back, iterate, and I'm sure when I get to the end of the book, I have to go back to the start again, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, that's why, people come back year after year as alumni. We usually get about 80 to 100 people, and they're coming back to be a part of the community, to do more layers of it. Yes, it's linear in the sense that there's a framework and there's an order of the phases, but it all overlaps, interconnects. It's not like, oh, you do this much time or spend this much time and energy on the money healing and then you're done.
it take,
No.
yeah. I want to be able to be in such a way that Kahneman talks about system one and system two. I want to be where it becomes system one. Like it's like driving. When I'm driving, then after
Right.
automatic. I want to be like that with a good relationship with money. That it's really part of me, not just I need a checklist. It's more like it's part of who I become. So
Yeah.
it will take a while. I know it will take a long time.
Well, yeah, because again, we weren't taught this as 12-year-olds, or teenage or 15-year-olds, and now 25 to 75-year-olds, everywhere in that age group. That's who is part of the year-long program. But I just heard that a friend of my husband's, his wife, is using The Art of Money as a textbook for homeschooling their 4 kids. I don't know the ages yet. And that was mind-blowing. So that's, I always say that it's good for 25 to 75-year-olds, but now I'm starting to hear that it's being used for even younger. But thank you for setting that all up with Janice and recording it and sharing it live. I love it.
Yeah, we're gonna start on the next
Ooh. Ooh.
All right. Thank you. And
Thank you.
I'll leave you to enjoy the rest of your afternoon. And thank you, subscribers, for watching. And just like always, if you like what you see, like, comment, participate with us, come be part of us. And yeah, I showed you Bari's website. Check it out. It's a beautiful website. And thank you, Bari.
Thank you so much.
See you next time. We'll do another one maybe after I finish the book.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye.